Okay. On that note, moment silence over. Is there going to be any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No additions, deletions, but I.
Okay. If not, I just need a motion to adopt the agenda as written.
So moved, Marcus McIntyre.
Okay, Mr. McIntyre has made the motion. All in favor? Well, I'll go down the list. So it's Ms. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Head's getting connected. Mr. Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Barber.
Yes.
Okay. Agenda is approved.
I voted yes as well.
Oh, yeah.
Be sure to check.
Yes.
Be sure
and
to
Mr.
include the checklist of everyone. Yes.
Yes. That is
Mayor?
unanimous. Yes.
I approve. This is Mike.
Oh, you're on, Mike? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
I can see the
good.
agenda.
Okay, I was about to put us back into a waiting for you. Okay, thanks. So that's a unanimous. There are no public comments, so I'll open and close the public comment portion unless nobody's received any. And we're going to turn the microphone over to Captain James for any updates over the last few weeks.
And Abby, if you could unmute one and then everyone self-mute while he speaks, please, that would be appreciated.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor and council, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning. There's not a whole lot that I can tell you that's really going on. For the most part, it seems like the town in itself has been willing to adopt to this new way of living, so to speak, that has been keeping our call volume somewhat to a minimum. We've reduced our efforts in an attempt to try to keep our contacts someone who's possibly infected, but other than that, everything is probably a good term for. We're waiting, like everyone else is, and looking forward to this passing and just going back to the normal way of life. But as far as unusual or anything unusual going on, there's really nothing that I can speak of.
Okay, well, I guess considering that's good news. Does anybody have a question for Captain James before we move on?
No.
Yes, I do. I do. That's
okay,
Marcus.
Mr. McIntyre, go ahead.
Captain James, quick question for you. Accidents. Have you seen a big decrease?
We've seen a decrease, but it's more. I'm putting it more in relationship to the level of traffic, because our level of traffic has reduced a great deal. We still have them here and there, and we're still having the intersection crashes, but they're not coming in one after the other like we were used to, and that's simply because of the traffic and people staying at home.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There's a lot of bounce back. If everyone could mute, that would be helpful until you speak. I think the phone is picking up the speaking, and so it's reverberating.
Okay. Okay. If everyone would please do mute. All right. Thank you, Captain. Stay safe, and thanks for all your staff is doing. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. I'll need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Todd Barber.
Mr. Barber has made a motion to approve. I'll go in order here after Mr. Barber. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Mr. Head,
Approve.
Mr. Morris.
Approve.
Okay, that being said, the consent agenda is approved unanimously. And that'll bring us to the other business, which the first one on the list is the Park Committee member seat 4, term ending June 30th, 2020. Action is required. Hayden, this was one you put on there. Are you with us?
Yes, sir. So Ms. Starnes has applied. Ms. Starnes is currently employed with the Union County Public Library, has a vast wealth of knowledge and experience, not only with the library, but also how town government works with her current position and former position. Very interested in events and the arts. I've met with Ms. Starnes and conducted a informal interview with her. She's attended one of our Parks Committee meetings to kind of just see how everything, what the lay of the land is and what the other committee members are like in their passions. She was well received and she received the committee well. It is our recommendation that we seat Ms. Starnes in seat 4 at this time.
Thank you, Hayden. Is there any discussion on this matter? If there isn't, on the motion for Ms. Starnes or for any other, or for someone else?
This is Marcus McIntyre asking to be recognized.
Yes, sir. Mr. McIntyre.
I want to make a motion that we nominate Miss Christy Starnes to the Parks and Recs Committee, seat number 4, with a term ending 6/30/20. Is that correct? This year?
Yes, that is
Sorry.
correct.
Okay. So yes,
Okay.
I'll make that motion to fill that open seat.
Okay, Mr. McIntyre's made the motion to fill the seat. I'll go in order after Mr. McIntyre, which would be Mr. Head,
Approve.
Mr. Morris,
In favor.
Mr. Barber,
Approve.
Ms. Howe.
Approved.
Let this record stand that it was unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the ABC Board Member, seat 3, term ending 3/30/23. The recommendations for James White. Mr. Cohn, are you on the call? Kathy, do you know if Mr. Cohn made it? Or Abby?
He did receive the invite as well as the information. I sent it again yesterday. to him and
Okay.
the participants.
Okay, thank you. Council, is Mr. White on the call? No, not, excuse me, not at this time. Council, if there's no discussion, we'll need a recommendation. A
Must be
motion?
recognized, Councilman Morse.
Yes, Mr. Morse.
The only comment I wanted to make about Mr. White and Mr. Latz is, both of them have served on the board. Recently, as I've been attending these ABC board meetings, Mr. White has been heavily involved. Mr. Latz has attended the meeting. And I concur with the recommendation that Mr. White is deservedly the right guy for this appointment.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? If not, we'll need a motion, please.
This is Councilman McIntyre asking to be recognized again.
Yes, sir, Mr. McIntyre.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Mr. James White to the ABC Board, seat 3, with an expiration term of 3/30/2023.
Mr. McIntyre has made the motion for Mr. White. We will go in order. Once again, Mr. Head,
In favor.
Mr. Morse,
In favor?
Mr. Barber,
In favor.
Ms. Howe.
Approved.
Okay, let the record stand. Council voted unanimously for Mr. White for the ABC Board, seat 3. Thank you. Item C, which is approval of severance and release of claims for former town manager Patrick Sadek. Ms. Walter, I'm going to give this one to you, please.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, before you today is the severance and release of claims that terminates the our negotiations with former manager Patrick Sadek. As you all know, we parted ways with Patrick on effective February 10th. We have been speaking with him and his representatives since then to come to a agreement, and what is before you today is the agreement. And again, the material terms of this agreement are going to be considered personal confidential information. I have had the opportunity to speak with you all, and again, we proceeded with the options and the material terms that were approved by council in closed session. So before you is just the actual agreement for approval.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for the attorney? If there's no discussion or questions, we'll need a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be recognized, please. McIntyre again.
Mr. McIntyre, the floor is yours, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the severance agreement and release of claims for the former town manager, Patrick Sadek, and authorize the town attorney and staff to take all action necessary to finalize this agreement.
Okay, thank you, sir. Again, we'll go in order. Mr. Head,
In favor?
Mr. Morse,
In favor.
Mr. Barber,
Approve.
Ms. Howe.
Approved.
Okay, let the record stand. This was unanimously voted on by the council. Thank you. You need anything else from us, Karen?
Nope, that's good on that number. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. There's some noise in the background. If someone would mute, please. The item D would be approve implementation of town manager search, effective immediately. Once again, Ms. Walter, would you lead this one?
Happy to, Mayor. All right, so as we know, Mr. Allen has been appointed the interim town manager for the town, and we expect Mr. Allen's tenure to finish towards the end of August. On that note, I wanted to provide you all with some information and a catalyst to begin the town's search for a permanent town manager. To start that, I have spoken with Hartwell Wright of the League of Municipalities. Part of his role with the League is to work with town boards and town councils in the manager search process. So my recommendation is first that we as a town council set up an electronic meeting with Mr. Wright,
If you want to.
where he can help walk through the process, and he will go through and explain the council's legal obligations and best business practices with regards to the hiring process. One thing I would like us to try to possibly decide today is if we can come up with a date, or at least for next week even, because I believe we do need to get moving on that topic. He will be able, like I said, about the everything from the board, the council's obligations, legal and best business practices, to salary ranges, and that would be an expectation of an incoming hire. And then he can also walk through the methods of engaging a new town manager, including whether the town should use a search firm or try to take the burden on itself. My recommendation is going to be that the town does engage a search firm, and I'd like to sort of walk through a proposed schedule that I think is probably aggressive, but it needs to be because we do have to start moving on this process. So what I'd love to happen, if you all would be agreeable, is that the council appoint 2 members to lead the charge on this process. That way we can get Mr. Wright scheduled. We can begin interviewing search firms and hopefully get to the point where the, I'm going to call it the committee, the town manager search committee can provide a recommendation for a search firm prior to May 1st. If we could engage that new search firm, we could spend May, June, and July interviewing candidates, town manager candidates, and then hopefully be able to actually make an offer to hire a new manager by August 1st. Then we could, the new manager could work with Mr. Allen to ensure a smooth transition, expecting the new manager to be fully on board by August 15th. So while that's an aggressive timeframe, I think I really do believe that council needs to put this as a top priority with it, along with budget to start this process and get moving so that we do have the opportunity to really put some thought into the profile of who you all would like to see as a town manager and what skill sets and personality and temperament and what have you is important to you so that we can relay that to any search firm while they're in process. So I guess I would love to start a conversation about this. 2, I would request if you are all amenable that we do appoint a search committee of 2 members, at least, 2 council members at the most, so that we don't have to worry about quorum, and then get moving ASAP on tackling this process. Happy to answer any questions.
The council, does anyone have go ahead, Mr. McIntyre.
Oh, sorry, I was asking to be recognized. Yes. So, a couple of things. One, I think it's important for us to get on this relatively soon because we don't want the period of Mr. Allen ending and we don't have somebody in place. So that's 1. 2, it would also be essential for us to get somebody identified, hired, and so forth onboarded, and they can work together with Mr. Allen, for about 2 weeks before he departs. So there would be a good turnover. That person could, Mr. Allen could bring them up to speed on certain things that they would need to be aware of, versus in his case where he had to come in and sort of gather that on his own. The third item in terms of the search firm, I do believe that we need to take a serious approach to this from the standpoint of ensuring we have a qualified manager, somebody who's going to be in the position for longer than we've had in the past here in Indian Trail. We unfortunately have this stigma attached to us in the town, meaning town government, as not keeping our managers on for long. So that is really, really important in that we take these things into consideration and really begin in earnest the approach, or I shouldn't say the approach, but the task of interviewing, identifying the next town manager here. One thing I'd like to just mention before I turn it over back to you is that I know Ms. Walter mentioned the 2-person committee. I am going to put up my hand and say that I'd like to be on this committee because I think this is a really important search that could well define, the direction of the town for the next few years. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have a question for the attorney? Okay. Since this is an action item, and Ms. Walter, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is how I'd like to see this go. I'd like to first identify the 2 members of council that will be the search committee with the attorney. I myself am in favor of Marcus being one, but just make a motion if you want to nominate yourself or someone else at this time for the first person.
Request to be recognized.
nominate-
This is Councilmember Morse.
Yes, sir, Mr. Morse.
You know, in lieu of the past and who's been involved, I would like to nominate Councilman Head to accompany Marcus. Just a suggestion. And if Mr. Head would be willing to take that on, then I'll turn it back over.
First, let's ask Mr. Head. Mr. Head, would you be in favor of being a nominee?
I would be willing to
Okay.
nominee.
So, okay, is there anyone else that would like to throw their hat in the race? Or am I going to ask for a motion for Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Head to work together with the attorney?
I'd like to be recognized.
Yes, sir.
Barbara. I'll make the motion that Marcus McIntyre and Mike Head be the committee.
Okay. Mr. Barber's made the motion. I'll go in order after Mr. Barber. That would be Ms. Howe. The motion is for Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Head to be the two-person committee to work with the attorney to find a search firm for a new town manager.
I approve of that.
Okay. Mr. McIntyre?
I approve as well.
Okay. Mr. Head?
Approve.
And Mr. Morse?
Approved.
Mr. Barber, you made the motion originally. Okay, so let the record stand that that vote was also unanimous. Okay. That's all the business we have. At this time, before we adjourn, I'm going to ask each council member one at a time if there was any closing statements they wanted to make. If we,
Mr.
Yes, Mr.
Mayor,
McIntyre.
so sorry if you don't mind me, just for us to ensure that we have this very well documented. We do approve the two people on the committee, but I would also like us to really vote on D, which is approve implementation of the town manager search effective immediately. That separate motion. So if you don't mind, I'll make the motion just to make sure that we have our I's and our T's dotted and crossed.
Yes.
So
Go right ahead and make the motion.
I want to make a motion that we approve the implementation of the new town manager search with immediate effect, and that the two members of the committee be Mr. Mike Head and Mr. Marcus McIntyre.
Okay. We'll go in order. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. Morse?
Approved.
Mr. Barber?
Approve.
And Ms. Howe?
Approved.
Let the record stand. That's unanimous. We will immediately begin the search with Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Head working with the attorney on this search. All right. So that is the end of our agenda. And I'm just going to go council member by council member to see if you just had a closing statement. Mr. McIntyre?
Yes, my closing statement will be brief. This is, unprecedented times. None of us, I think, were alive when anything closely remotely close to this ever occurred. Heed the directions coming from health officials, federal, local, state. Please heed those. And we do pray for a flattening of the curve, and that those who are afflicted are able to recover and get back to health. Thank you, sir.
Mayor Alvarez?
Yes.
My apologies, I was muted beyond my control. I wanted to ask, I think I heard Attorney Walter request us schedule a special meeting to meet with the gentleman that she mentioned earlier for the
to meet with them separately. They'll get together with that sometime today. Okay.
Thank you.
That won't be a quorum, so that will be the three of them.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Head, did you have a closing statement you wanted to make?
Just echo
Councilman McIntyre's comments, and let's hope that and pray that we get beyond this very quickly.
Amen. Okay, Mr. Morse.
No comments at this time.
Okay, Mr. Barber, did you have a closing statement?
Yes, I just want to say prayers to all the people who've been inflicted with the virus. And I'd like to say special thanks to all the people out there who are having to work, from retail people, grocery, to our first responders, all the people out there, nurses, medical staff, doctors. Our thanks and prayers to all those people also, and thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Ms. Howe?
Well, I've been down this road before quite a few times here. Was it 5 or 6 that we had town managers? I just, pray that they have good guidance when they meet with the potential person. And we've got a lot of tax money here that's gone the wrong way, and we need the money to move forward. We need to just take it in stride and put everything behind us and look ahead at the light and know that we're going to get out of this mess here that we've gotten ourselves into. And hopefully we'll have some good people that apply, and we won't be talking about this anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you to council for making this meeting move smoothly. Thank you to staff for keeping the town running during these times. And hopefully we get through them real quick. And pray for everyone that's out there that has to work and that's been affected. Thank you. At this time, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ms. Howe made the motion to adjourn. Mr. McIntyre? Okay, you approve? Mr. Head?
I approve.
Okay.
Approve.
Okay, by both. Okay, thank you. Mr. Morris?
Approve.
Mr. Barber?
Approve.
That's unanimous. Let the record stand. This meeting is now adjourned. Everyone have a great day.
Thank
Goodbye,
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
This might be.